So now we have some dummy handles to put on our closet doors here. And what you want to do is, make sure all these doors are all the same. So the first thing we want to do is get the correct height. So what we're going to do is just measure to the center. Don't measure from the floor. Start at the bottom of the door and measure to the center of the existing handle. And that measure is 37 3/4. Okay? 37 3/4. So we'll come over to our new door. Again, we're going to come from not to the floor, but to the bottom of the door, 37 3/4, and make a mark. And I already have that mark there, which is this little pencil mark. The next thing we're going to do is measure to the center, from the edge to the center of the existing handle, which is 2 3/8, which is what we call a common back set. So now the center is going to be 2 3/8. So 2 3/8 is here. Okay. So then we'll go over here again, 2 3/8 for our back set. Now, these doors, so if I measured up 37 and what did I say, 3/4 to the top, sometimes that's correct and sometimes it's not. And the reason I don't measure separately from this one is because sometimes the doors they didn't put them in at the same level. So if you just measure up from the bottom, the 37 3/4, you could not be level because they didn't hang the doors level. So what I do is I just, I go from one side and I use a level. So we're going to use a level, and now we know exactly where that center is for both of them. So regardless of the doors being, not in the same plane, we know exactly where our center line is, okay? So, I'm gonna make these a little bit bigger. Make these lines a little bit bigger, just real light pencil mark here that we can always erase. Okay, and same thing for our verticals. Just giving us a nice cross. I know this is a little bit obsessive, but if you want to do it right, you might as well just follow the steps. Because there's nothing like doing something quickly and then screwing it up. Again, we're using Emtek again today on this. And there's a couple of things to know about these things, right? So here is the mounting plate, and here is our Emtek piece. And what do you notice? You notice that there's a groove right here. And that groove is designed to hold this little set screw. So if you just randomly put that on up there, then your set screw is going to be in the up phase, which we really don't want to see. We most likely want to be in the down phase so that we can set the set screw in the down phases so you don't see it. We drew those lines out longer so that we can now see there's where we need to put our holes. If I'd only set that one little one there, that's hidden behind here. We can't see where that actually is, so you could have made a mistake. But when you draw your lines out, okay, to the distance, now you can see exactly where your center is. And again, Emtek, super cool. They've got little lines there that show you exactly where you need to be, both here on the sides and on the top. And you just line those up and you're in great shape. Now with these doors, there's two types of doors. There's hollow core doors and there's solid core doors. Now, if these are solid, so that's cool. If they were hollow core, which does happen, typically there's a little piece of wood about 1.5 inches or so around the entire edge of the door. So this screw here would go into the wood. Over here though, it would just be going through a very small piece of veneer, probably about 3/16 thick, which is terrible for these types of things because you're going to be pulling against a small little thin piece of veneer. And what happens over time is these things just rip out, the screws rip out. If that's the case, the solution that I typically do is I drill a nut and a bolt. So I would bolt all the way through the door and then set a nut on the opposite side so that you're basically squeezing this thing on. That is a solution if you have a hollow core door and it rips out. So that's the repair that we typically do. All right, so we're lining everything up and now we're gonna drill our holes. So stay to the center, make your hole. Okay, as you can see there, I'm not screwing in all the way. What we want to do is when you have a drill, unless you're very good and you can sense how tight the screw is getting, it's very easy to strip the wood. Remember, this is not wood, this is actually MDF, which is basically splinters and wood glue. So if you overscrew your screw in, you can strip the hole and then it's worthless. So you want to just go in almost to the end and then use your hand tool and hand screw it. Because with your hand, you can feel like where the end is, like how tight it is. So nice and gentle. Now you know exactly how much force is needed on each of them. I set this thing in the down phase, but Emtek shows on the directions that the set screw is actually on the side. So another way we can do this is we can screw this on and see where the set screw is going to finish. Hold on, let's do this. This is another way to figure out where that set screw is going to stop. So we've got our plate and we screw it on. See right there, the set screw is at the top. And then can we get to that side phase? Oh man, it's tough. But we can. Okay. So on this one, we're going to set the set screw at the side face. Thank you, boss. Okay, so now we have set that to the side there. Okay, so now we're just going to repeat this process. There you go. Okay, so now when we go on, every time we turn it on, it changes. It rotates to the next thing. Okay. Got just a touch more to get it to the full 90. That looks good there. It's hard because we don't want to break the glass. If you rotate this too hard, you can actually start spinning that glass because the glass is glued in there. And this one turned out to be exactly the same as the other with the set screw on the side. That worked out perfectly. We're just going to take this ugly tape off because we don't need that anymore. And I think the thing to look at is that levelness, okay? You can see that they are perfectly level across from each other. And again, if you measure correctly, you'll get that nice level, which is sometimes hard to do, especially when the doors are not set.